After a spring of successful short distance training and a summer of mileage currently well underway, my sights turn back towards the marathon distance as I gear up to race on October 19th. Now, I pushed pause on the marathon distance after Abingdon last year due to a lack of fire in my belly, but after I completed my 5k training block this year, I finally started to reignite that flame, and now I'm more excited than ever to take on 26.2 again. So how am I approaching it? What's making me extra excited, and what is the race? Plus, what are the options after that? Because this race is just a stepping stone for something bigger, hopefully next year. But first of all, let's catch you up to date on training, because I haven't been producing quite as many training vlogs as I normally do. Talk about the thing that's got me extra excited, talk about the race itself, and then talk about what the options are after that. So if we get into training, my goal always after the 5k training block, which ended on the end of May, was just to log a summer of decent controlled mileage, and that's exactly what I've been doing. What I found last year that really worked was doing a double threshold block, or a kind of modified double threshold block to my ability throughout the summer, and then launching to a specific marathon phase. If you've been following since last year, you'll know that last year I had a couple of wobbles around that marathon phase, and it really took a bit of a kick up the backside to get myself ready for Abingdon last year, but it worked. I crammed in a lot of training in the final 8 weeks, had a really good final 8 weeks actually, and got myself into the shape of my life. It was just that darn storm that happened on Abingdon's day that really just ruined the race. But overall, I had a very strong race, and I bounced off the back of that really well. Took a bit of downtime, rolled into this year, trained for Alicante half marathon over in Spain. So that was good fun, a lot of hills and a lot of speed work there. And then coming off the back of that, which was in February, I then just took another couple of weeks to deload, did some races back to back to back in the end of February and beginning of March, and then I rolled straight in to a 5k block, which wrapped up at the end of May. And as last year's double threshold block went so well, or modified double threshold block I should say, I've decided to do it again this year. But what I've done is I made another small tweak to it, which has allowed me to again feel even better whilst I'm logging some really good mileage. So I'm trying to sit in and around the 70 to 75 mile week at the moment, and have done for the last 6 to 7 weeks. I've had one period where I had 3 days completely off, and I took that as a down phase, and I've got another down week coming up in 2 or 3 weeks time. But the modification I've done this time is, rather than doing a double threshold workout on the Tuesday and then a standard interval workout where I'm really pushing the paces on Thursday, I've actually swapped that out to be a single threshold session, mainly focusing on LT1, but I am throwing in some faster intervals in there, but I'm not pushing the pace on that whatsoever. Again, if you follow me on Strava, I'm not hitting any specific paces there. All I'm looking to do, and I tell this to a lot of my athletes, especially in this early phase as well, is I'm looking to hit the right effort, and then maybe just in some of the shorter, sharper reps, just pick up the pace. No specific target, just aiming to make it quicker than the previous longer, more intentional rep. And then to wrap things up, I'm doing hills on the weekend, so I'm getting a good blend of training in, all very controlled. And again, the hills are not all-out hill sprints, they're good, strong threshold efforts, which are making me feel really strong and keeping that sharp end in my training. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is going to be carrying on probably until the end of August. I don't want to do anything more than a specific 8-week block for this marathon. I'm going to be in a really good place coming off the back of this training, and I just don't want to tinker with things any sooner than 8 weeks out. So that will be in and around the end of August. But what have we got coming up after that? And of course, what's making me really excited to tackle the distance? Well, again, long-time viewers will know fueling has always been a major issue for me. I've really persisted with Maurten gels for a long period of time, even up to last year's marathon. And the most success I've had was back at Newport in 2023, where I ran 2:40 and 44 seconds, and I front loaded my gel, so I took one every 25 minutes until I couldn't, which basically means I had one right before the start, and I sunk 4 gels during the race, which, if you know, a Maurten gel is 25 grams of carbs. All I took on during the race was 100 grams of carb, which is obviously nowhere near enough, especially for someone of my size and frame. I need to be taking on much more than that, and I've got athletes that I'm coaching that are doing a way better job at it than me. Now, for me, it's just been about experimenting. The second I finished my 5k block this year, I jumped straight into gel testing. I tested some OTE gels. They worked really well. Victus gels were absolutely amazing, and I got on with those the best. However, I had a stock issue with those when I went to reorder them. I couldn't from X Miles, and I had to get them shipped in from elsewhere, and I just thought I can't be training with something that I might have stock issues with, especially if I lead up to a marathon. So although they were great, great. I just put those to one side. Styrka gels, again, they were decent, but I did have a couple of stomach aches with them. So again, I pushed pause on those, and I have finally found Precision Fuel and Hydration. Now, I tested these a while ago, but this was when I was going through a phase where I was trying to work out what was going on with my stomach in general a few years ago. And then it transpired that I was suffering with a gluten issue. Basically, any sugary products that were going into my system were just causing the issue to get even worse. But now I've sussed that out and understand that, and I've cut gluten mostly out of my diet. Things are a lot better, and Precision Fuel and Hydration are one that I've gone back to and I'm having great success with, to the point where I've spent a lot of money on them so far this summer. But over the weekend just gone, I sunk 5 gels in 1 hour 50 minutes. I had one every 20 minutes. That is 150 grams of carbs. I did not feel sick, I did not have any stomach issues, and I felt really good. And I am very excited for this. It just makes me happy because we can do all the training in the world, but if our fueling isn't on point, it's just going to ruin race day. So I feel like now I've got the fuel in place, which I will keep buying and keep persisting with and keep training with, and hopefully by the time I get round to the marathon, I'm going to be really tolerant to these gels and be able to sink at least 5 if not 6 during the race. So let's talk about the race itself. What were my options? Well, as I had bigger plans for 2026, I wanted to keep things relatively low key this year. My options realistically were Barnstable, Abingdon, Chester and York. Now, of course, I did Abingdon last year, and what I liked about Abingdon, even though I had a few comments out there last year, which I can kind of understand, it's one of those ones, why would you train for so long and put so much effort in for a course like that? To be fair, the course is actually really fast. There are just some sections where you have to run on the pavement a little bit and not on the road, and there's a couple of sections out there which aren't quite concrete, therefore the surface is a little bit softer and a little bit spongier, and it is a little bit infuriating, but when you do get out to the main loop, it's a very quick and fast course. I just don't think the storm did it any favours at all last year, and it made it much worse. I have run Abingdon before this as well, so I've run it twice, and the first time was a much better experience. But of course, I had the other options as well. My thinking behind the decision was ultimately I want to be able to stay in my own bed. I don't want to have to spend money on a hotel or travel or food whilst I'm out there. I want something low key because ultimately this marathon is a stepping stone to what I want to do next year, and I want to be able to practice my fueling out there. If it goes well this year, then I'll have a lot more confidence going into next year. So with that in mind, I decided to go back to Abingdon for this year. I got myself an entry. I actually missed the cutoff, so I put myself on the waiting list within 2 or 3 days of it selling out, and I have secured a place. Enough people have dropped out. The great thing about this year as well is it's being used as the Masters race, so I had good competition and good depth of field last year, had a good pack to run with until at least 17 miles, which was great. This year it's going to be even better. There's going to be an even bigger depth of field, so all I'm hoping for this year is better weather. I'm not necessarily too worried about the little sections that I moaned about last year. Ultimately for me this year, it is just about getting there, practicing fueling, making sure on race day Precision Fuel and Hydration sits well, and that I can get round feeling good and strong. And the reason for that is I want to do something a little bit bigger and better next year. So let me go through my options as to what I want to do after Abingdon. Again, as I said, this is just a stepping stone, which is why I do not want to waste any money on anything. I need to save my money. So option A is going to be Seville in February. This is the most least likely option, being completely honest. I actually have an entry. I wanted to get one before it sold out to keep that door open if I wanted to get in there. It's going to come down to how much I can afford to get out there and spend the money. I know Seville is a bit more expensive than option B, which we'll come to in a second, but I do want to keep the door open for that. And we'll see financially how the rest of the year plays out. Option B will potentially be Castellón, which is the week after. A lot of people don't know about Castellón, but it's a platinum level race out there in Spain. Very flat, very fast. Cajelcha actually ran 26:30 something, I think, for the 10K last year out there. It attracts extremely high level athletes. I think just because it's in February, it gets completely overshadowed by Seville. But to be honest with you, it is an incredibly flat course. It looks brilliant, and also from a family perspective, it's a bit cheaper and it's down by the sea. But again, that one will come down to costings as well. So option C is going to be to use my Good for Age time from last year's Abingdon to get myself into London. This is probably my least favourite option. I do want to do London next year, but if I do Seville, then I might not bother doing London, or if I do it and I do both, London will just be completely for fun. I won't do any particular specific training for it. I'll just keep the long runs going so that I can at least know that I'll get to the end okay. But if the first two don't come off, then I will use my Good for Age entry into London. And quite honestly, if any of those three don't pull off, I'm not really interested in doing another UK marathon. I'm not interested at the moment in going up and doing Manchester. I know that's sold out. I'm not really interested in doing Newport, so I would probably just bank Abingdon, hopefully as a success with the fueling, and then when I've gone from there, I will probably end up just targeting maybe a spring half marathon instead and find some good affordable options for that, potentially abroad, who knows. I do want to make the early part of 2026 a bit more exciting, so I might just target a half and do exactly the same as I've done this year, and then go into a 5k block and do the same again. It's worked well for me. There's no reason for me to stop doing that. So the honest truth is, if A and B don't come off, then C, London Marathon, is probably something that I would maybe shelve and then go for option D. Whew. So there we go. That is all out there. You guys know where you stand, where I stand, and what my plans are for the upcoming, realistically, 6 to 8 months. So I hope that all makes sense. I've been kind of teasing that I'm going to be doing a marathon and there might be something bigger in the future next year. Of course, as I said, I'm just going to have to take it month by month at the moment, and I'll see how things go. But as it stands right now, I'm just focused on continuing to build a summer of mileage. There'll be another training video coming out next week, which will hopefully allow you to see how training's going as I get towards this next sort of down week before then kicking on into August. And then after that, I'll give more details on what you can expect in the final 8 weeks, where I'll do a proper weekly training series building up to Abingdon. So I'd love to hear what your autumn plans are down in the comments below. Please do drop a comment if you're running a marathon, half marathon, or what your goal race is this autumn. It'd be great to hear from you down there. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, and you're excited for an upcoming marathon training series, and check out this video up here. This is my recent training video I dropped, where it gave you a bit of an idea as to what my current training's like now. And if you want to know a bit more into the threshold side of things as to what I'm doing, that I've adapted slightly to myself, but there's a good explanation, then check out this video down here. This is about Sir Pock's training, where he's doing Norwegian singles and really setting the world on fire with that. Check out that one down there, and I'll see you guys over on one of those.